A friend who's bullish on a Bitcoin miner asked me for a skeptic's view on Bitcoin mining companies. Why buy a Bitcoin miner stock when I can buy Bitcoin or fractional interest in Bitcoin directly? The main issue here is, are they holding companies or operating companies? One might respond, they're operating companies. They've got these big operations, solar farms and mining equipment, but in essence, this is like a holding company with office computers that happen to use solar as an electricity source. But I would counter that operating companies don't sell off their earning assets to generate cash flow. Look at banks, for example. They lend and retain ownership of their assets. But let's take a closer look at how these companies operate. We'll use Hut 8 as our case study. As we know, the company uses mining equipment to solve difficult computational problems to generate hashes which facilitate real-world transactions. They also lend their Bitcoin, which at first I thought was a reference to staking, but it isn't. And then they also do a little web hosting. So if we look at the income statement, we see that almost all of their revenue comes from mining. This quarter, their operating income was 6.3 million, and they had this non-operating gain of 23 million on loans receivable. When we look at the cash flow statement, we see that digital assets mined isn't cash income, it's more like an unrealized gain. Operating cash flow was negative 13 million on operating income of 6.3 million. From these two ratios, market cap to Bitcoin holdings and market cap to book value, you can see the premium over net assets investors are assigning these companies. Hut 8 and MicroStrategy are the best of the bunch, but I would argue that these stocks should trade at discounts. Good comps for Bitcoin miners here are closed-end funds, many of which often trade at discounts to net asset value. Let's look at why these companies trade at discounts. Obviously, the company has administrative costs, including salaries and things like management issuing themselves warrants. But what about the choices they make? What if it's better to mine Ether than Bitcoin? Things like that. What if they make suboptimal choices regarding their energy sources? The last point, though, justifying a discount to net asset value is that you've given up your control. It's a discount for lack of control. Instead of discounts, investors are paying huge premiums in some cases. One might note that investors often pay high multiples of earnings, but that's not what's going on in this exhibit. The bottom row reflects price to book value, but they look very high for these companies. The most reasonable would be Hut 8 at 2.8. Also, the company's main product is subject to extremely wide price swings. Many expect that Bitcoin could drop another 50% in value any time. Why hand away the control involved in managing all of these risks? Back to the notes. A company called Bitfury Holdings owns a controlling interest in Hut 8. They also happen to be a related party. There could be substantial agency risks here. More evidence for these discounts for lack of control come from the M&A market. Companies often pay large premiums for controlling interests in target companies. Yes, some of this is for cost-cutting synergies, but they are also paying for corporate control. A little math turns these control premiums into discounts for lack of control. Back to Hut 8. We can see that the company sold $41 million in Bitcoin off in 2019, and last year they sold much less. What if their timing stinks? Or in the future, what if they sell Bitcoin to fund plush new offices? Just a few examples. So this is my view regarding the long-term value of Bitcoin miners. Still, people are making money on them, but I think that some of this is spillover from the mania that's gripped crypto. In effect, investors have shifted the higher risk and return characteristics of crypto into stock, resulting in a low risk adjusted return profile. Okay, thanks for watching the video, and please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.